So I want to thank you for joining us and for taking the time and the thought to think about saving for college. A lot of people don't think about saving for college until it's time to go to college, which is, of course, not the optimal time to do that. So, although it's better late than never for sure. But today, what we're going to be talking about when we talk about saving for college, first of all, a brief introduction to MEFA. MEFA is a not-for-profit state authority. We were created back in 1982 by the state of Massachusetts with a public service mission to help Massachusetts families to plan, save, and pay for college. So we offer student loans. We also manage the savings programs, which we'll talk about in detail in this presentation, the U Fund 529 plan and the U Plan prepaid tuition program. And we also do a lot of seminars, webinars, and a lot of financial aid sort of education regarding the financial aid process, the admissions to college process, saving for college, and paying for college using loans and other sources. Everything that we say here on the webinar will be recorded, and it will be emailed to you after this webinar ends. And if you have any questions, you can certainly call us at 1-800-449-MEFA. We have a team of counselors available to help you with any questions that you might have on anything that was said, or, of course, anything that was not said regarding to paying for college. If you sign up for our emails, which I have an example of in just a minute, you'll receive 1 or 2 emails a month from us. Basically, we're not going to flood your inbox with emails. We're not going to give your email address to anybody else. It's going to be the email that you receive will be based on the age of your child with content that's going to be relevant to you. So, if you have a 5-year-old, you're going to be getting a different set of emails than if you had a 5th grader or a 10th grader. Makes sense that way. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. On our website, we have all of our seminars and webinars listed that you can drop in at the seminar or register for a webinar and participate or get the recording at a later date. Also want to take a minute to talk about MEFA Pathway, which is our college and career readiness portal that is for students starting in middle school, where they can sort of go and do some activities and find out what they might want to do when they study, or where they might want to study or go to college, what they might want to do when they grow up. And then beginning in high school, they can keep track of their scholarships, their scholarship applications, their college searches, their letters of recommendation from teachers. It's meant to really be a one-stop shop for students to manage their college search and scholarship search portal. So that's a tool that you can use if you have children that are in middle school or above. This is an example of one of the emails that I was discussing. See short paragraphs of information there. You'll be able to tell right away what it is that we're talking about and if it interests you, and you can click to find more info if it does interest you. You see there's a video there and a blog post and a couple of different things. So by the look of this is encouraging the gift of college savings, talking about savings and what it means for taxes, and then talking to your children about paying for college. So this would probably be for a younger student, one that's not in high school yet. So this is an example of a kind of email that you might see if you have a younger child and sign up for MEFA emails. Today, what we're going to talk about, we're going to start with college costs and the basics of financial aid. I think any understanding of paying for college has to start with really understanding how much college costs, because there's a lot of press about the cost of college and a lot of anxiety that's fueled from that. And so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about what is generally less understood than the big sticker price, which is financial aid, and how that might come into play with you and in your savings and paying for college. We're going to talk about how families do pay for college. Probably the most frequent question I've received in my time working at MEFA is, how do people pay? How do people do this? And we'll talk about some examples. We'll go over some hypothetical examples of how people might pay. We're going to talk about strategies for saving. So the importance of saving will be understood, and we'll talk about ways that you can best do that. Any way that you can save is a good way to save versus not saving, but there are some ways that are specifically designed to be used for college savings. We're going to talk about those, which are the U Plan and the U Fund, which are MEFA programs. They are specifically designed college savings programs in the same way that a 401k or a retirement account would be specifically designed for retirement. There are specific incentives built in to use them for college. Okay, so moving right into the college cost and the basics of financial aid section. So when we talk about college, first of all, what is it that we're talking about? I think that we have a pretty exact picture in a lot of our heads of what college is. It's probably a 4-year private university somewhere that your student travels to and lives on campus. Maybe you drop them off, help them move in and move out, or her move in and then go home. And that's sort of the picture that we see of what college is. But there are many different things. So there are 4-year private institutions. So, colleges like Boston University or Harvard or Nichols College or, whatever it might be. There are 4-year public in-state colleges. So if you live in Massachusetts, your 4-year public colleges or universities would be things like, UMass Amherst, Massachusetts Maritime Academy, Worcester State University, Western New England, things like that. Typically, there is a tuition discount to attend, which we'll get into. There are 4-year public out-of-state colleges. So, again, assuming you're a Massachusetts resident, colleges like University of New Hampshire, University of Southern California, whatever it is. If it's a public university out-of-state, that's a different type. You're going to be paying a different type of tuition there. And then, of course, there are the 2-year public community colleges, of which there are many in Massachusetts as well. They have a lot to recommend them. This is a 2-year degree is your associate's degree. They're often the least costly university. Well, always the least costly universities, really. There's a few things, again, like open enrollment, which means unlike the other colleges where there's an application process, there are deadlines, you have to go and they look at you and make a decision over whether or not they're going to admit you. If you want to go to a community college and you have your high school diploma or degree, you can attend classes and you can enroll in that college and go. You can work for 2 years, get your associate's degree, and there are programs that are designed to help students graduate with as little debt as possible. And they start in 2-year public community colleges. It's called the Mass Transfer Program or the Commonwealth Commitment. There's sort of two offset shoots of the same program. But basically, the way it would work is you would start, get your 2-year associate's degree at a community college, earn all your relevant credits for much less. As long as you had a GPA over a 2.0 or a 2.5, you would be guaranteed admission into a 4-year public university in Massachusetts, have most of your credits transferred over, and be able to finish with very little debt. And depending on GPAs, I think, if you have a 3.0 GPA, you can qualify for this Commonwealth Commitment, which freezes your tuition once you get to your 4-year public university, so that tuition won't go up from year to year for you. And it will also rebate your tuition, about 15% of your tuition, as long as you're maintaining your 3.0 GPA. So there's been a lot of work in recent years at the state level to try to help people get through public college and university programs with as little debt as possible. and it's something that we recommend that people really take a look at and see if they want to do that. There's also something called Tuition Break, which is a New England specific program, and that's designed for folks who do want to go and study at a public university, but if they don't offer your chosen major in a Massachusetts public college or university, you can attend another school in New England that's party to the Tuition Break program and pay a lower rate. So say you want to study astronomy and you really want to be sort of fiscally responsible and you want to do it publicly, but they don't offer astronomy in Massachusetts at a public university or college in Massachusetts. But let's say, University of Vermont does. Well, you can go to University of Vermont to study astronomy and not pay the full out-of-state rate, but a lower rate. Okay. Aside from that, there are vocational and trade schools that you can attend. The point isn't that everybody needs to go to college. It's just to have a plan in place for education after high school so you can be in the best position to succeed in whatever it is that you want to do. And you can save for all of these types of colleges and programs. Okay, so this is the most recent figures we have for current college costs. And this is by type. So you might hear a lot, college costs $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year. Whenever the school year is starting, there's always a story on the most expensive college in the country or in the region. And people hear that and they understandably get very anxious about paying for college. And certainly college can be expensive, but what we want to the first thing we want to do is say that's not the full story of everything. And the first dent we want to put in that is that there are all different types of colleges and there are different types of tuition that you get charged. So when you see those big sticker prices on, articles or news stories, this is probably the ones that they're talking about are these ones at the bottom here, the private nonprofit four-year school. So when you think about a private college, it's not a public, so it's not like a University of Massachusetts school. Think of something like Boston University or Harvard or Boston College, schools like that. Now, there are a lot of those in Massachusetts, a lot of those in New England and Northeast in general. So this information comes from the College Board, and these are national averages. So, New England colleges might be a little bit higher than this, especially for private. So, but take a look down here. So this is the average private nonprofit four-year, and this assumes that your student is living on campus. So that dark blue number there is tuition. So tuition, $34,740. The light blue one is room and board. That's at $12,210. Then we have books and supplies, and then transportation, and then other expenses, living expenses associated with being in college. So, that's $50,900. So that's a good amount. That's a good amount. But if you look below, or you start to look above it, you see public four-year. We'll skip that next one. Go up on top. Public four-year in-state. So if you go instead of a private college to a public college and university, you can see that steep drop in tuition price. So $9,970 from $34,740. So you can see that's a huge discount for in-state residents. So if you're from Massachusetts and you're attending a Massachusetts public college or university, you get that in-state tuition rate, which is much lower. Room and board is about even, so at $10,800, and so are the rest of the costs about where they are. So overall cost of attendance about $25,290, so about half what a private college costs. I should point out as well that the public four-year in-state number for Massachusetts is about where the national average is. Might be a little bit higher or a little bit lower depending on the college, but it's about where that is. Now you see, to go below public four-year out of state, if you attend a public college but it's not a state that you're a resident of, you lose that in-state lower tuition. So you can see that that tuition is somewhere in the middle there for an out-of-state resident, so it would be about $25,000. And then all the way up to the top there, public two-year college. So these are your community colleges. And this actually makes it look as though it's a little more expensive than it is. The reason is because, at least in Massachusetts, the reason is because that $8,400 figure for room and board, there are no community colleges in Massachusetts that have dorms that you live in. So that's sort of not part of the cost. Typically, when you're thinking about community college in Massachusetts, so Roxbury Community College, Bunker Hill Community College, schools like that, you want to think somewhere around, it's going to cost you somewhere around $6,000 a year, $7,000 a year, somewhere around there for total cost. So there's a lot of different types of colleges, and they're all represented in Massachusetts quite strongly. So there's certainly a lot of private colleges we know, but there's also a very strong public 4- and 2-year presence in Massachusetts and in New England. So that's the first thing. The second thing is financial aid, which we'll get into in a minute. But basically what I wanted to do is show you, this is where the college costs are right now. So $50,000 for private, nonprofit, about $25,000 for in-state tuition at a public college, and about $6,000 or $7,000 really for community college. One of the tools that we have on MEFA.org is a college cost forecaster. And what you can do is just sort of plug in the years that your student is projected to be in college. And it's going to give you, based on how much tuition has increased over the years, what tuition may be in the years that your child is going to be in college for. So two things here. First of all, I know, unfortunately, the first thing you see is that these numbers are really big. And unfortunately, we do sort of expect that. This is starting 10 years from now in 2028. But we sort of break these things down two ways. So you see national 2-year public, so your national average for community college, 4-year public in-state, and then a 4-year private. So you can get the feel for how those things might be different. The 3 columns on the left here are the national averages, much like the last slide we just saw. The ones on the right are New England specific estimates. So as you can see, they're a little bit higher in New England, and they're much higher than they are right now. So in 10 years, for example, where national average private school was 50,900. It's projected to be 10 years from now 72,277, and then in New England 90,112. For in-state public, you can see it's much less than that, and for 2-year public, it's again much less than that. I had the same moment that you had. I have a 5-year-old now, and right after he was born, I did this, and it really blew me away, the amount it was going to be. He's going in later than 2028, so it's going to be towards the bottom here of this spectrum, when a private college in New England is estimated to be about $100,000 a year. So don't let that discourage you. Number one, these are estimates. Number two, you're not bound to go to New England colleges or private colleges or 4-year publics or whatever it might be. There's a lot of different options that you have, but more importantly, I hope this motivates you to save, even though anyone would take a look at that as I did and say, oh my, I could never save that. And it's true, I probably could never save that, but I probably don't need to save that entire amount. You probably don't either. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of financial aid available. So just in the past year, there was about $181 billion of financial aid granted, and it's been about in the 180 billions each previous year for the past 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of financial aid that's granted. These prices that we were just going over for colleges are what's called sticker prices. And virtually nobody is going to be asked to pay the full sticker price of college for a year or for 4 years. Virtually everybody is eligible for some form of financial aid. So when we talk about financial aid, what is it? There are 3 main types. Grants and scholarships is the best kind of financial aid. It's gift aid. Does not have to be repaid. It's just taken off the bill. Work study, which is money set aside for the student to earn by working a job on campus, usually, low money there. And then there's student loans, by which we mean federal student loans, so not private loans that you might get to pay for college. So there are federal student loans that we at MEFA recommend if you're going to be borrowing anything at all. You start by taking those student loans. And they're the best options usually, but there's a loan limit to them. So, for example, right now as a freshman, you can only borrow about $5,500 in a federal student loan, and they go up a little bit every year, but not a huge amount. So those are built right into the financial aid package when you're applying to schools and you're applying to financial aid. You might get a package back. Hopefully, there's a lot of gift aid there, but you might get all 3 represented, you might get 2, you might only get the student loans. It depends. And where financial aid comes from, there are a number of sources: the federal government, work study, student loans, and federal grants. The state government in Massachusetts, they give out things like the Mass Grant, the Mass No Interest Loan. The colleges and universities themselves give a lot of financial aid in the forms of grants and scholarships. And then, of course, there are private outside scholarship opportunities that local businesses or national businesses or organizations give out. There's 2 basic ways to award financial aid. So there's need-based financial aid, which is the vast majority of the $181 billion in financial aid that's granted is need-based. So it's based on the family's financial eligibility or their need. And that is determined when you file your financial aid forms. The FAFSA, if you've heard of that, that's a free application for federal student aid. You have to file that if you want any federal or state aid, or oftentimes aid from the school as well. They just base their financial aid packages on the FAFSA. Or there might be a different form that you need to file in addition to the FAFSA called the CSS profile. And that is for colleges that give out a lot of their own money and they want to know more information than the federal government does as to how they allocate that money. But the point is that most financial aid is based on the family's financial need or their eligibility. So this is going to be important when it comes to savings, because a lot of times people get worried that if they have savings, they won't qualify for financial aid, which is not really the case, which we'll talk about a little bit later. The other way to award financial aid is merit-based. So when you hear about people getting athletic scholarships or academic scholarships, the word scholarship is a clue that it's merit aid. It's based on student achievement, recognition of something that the student has done or who the student is. So we're primarily going to be talking about need-based financial aid today because savings really has no bearing on merit-based financial aid. That's often used as a recruiting tool, or if a school really wants a student and they don't have much need, they might offer them merit-based financial aid. The biggest thing to understand about merit-based financial aid is that it changes a lot from school to school. So some colleges don't give out any merit-based aid. Some colleges give out a lot of merit-based aid. It really depends on the capability of the college and just the policy. So you can't really compare scholarships from school to school and say this school must really want my son or daughter, and this school really doesn't because I don't see any scholarships. There's just different capabilities and different practices at schools. So there's a lot of financial aid available, and that can help offset your cost when you go to college. So how can you figure out now what financial aid you might get when you apply to college? So this is where something called the expected family contribution really comes into play. And what that is when you're filing your financial aid forms and they're asking you for how much the parents make and how much the parents have in assets and how much the student makes and how many students you're going to have in college next year and things like that. What they're really doing is figuring out this number called the expected family contribution, which is the amount that the federal government, in the case of the federal method, or the college, in the case of the institutional method, as you see here, how much the formula calculates that you should be able to absorb for 1 year of college. Not that they think that you can just write a check out for this amount and pay it, but how much of this cost are you expected to shoulder as a family? So one way you can get started, you can go to collegeboard.org and complete an expected family contribution calculator. And it should only take about 5 minutes or so. And what you do, they're going to ask you, parent name, student name, date of birth, income, how many taxes you paid, what you have in the bank, if you have savings, this type of thing. And it'll run those numbers through the calculation and give you your actual expected family contribution. Now, as you can see here, there are two different expected family contributions listed. There's one for the federal methodology and one for the institutional methodology. And the federal methodology in this example ends up with a higher EFC versus the institutional methodology. It won't always work out that way. Sometimes the federal one is lower, sometimes they're the same. It just depends. They look at different things. So don't take too much from that. But where the expected family contribution, the big thing I want to mention about it is that people might take a look at this and say, okay, so I'm going to a school that, if I go to a school that only wants the FAFSA, the federal form, and by the federal methodology, $15,734, that's what I'm going to be paying when I go to school. Or if you're going, if I end up going to an institutional methodology school, I'm only going to be paying $12,511. That's not really the case. So that is more of a floor than a ceiling as to how much you're going to pay. The reason is you're not allowed to receive financial aid, need-based financial aid, more than your expected family contribution. So what this means is that if you get all of the need-based financial aid that you are eligible for, this is what you're going to pay. But oftentimes, you don't get all the financial aid from the college that you are eligible for. In that case, you are responsible to pay your expected family contribution and then cover the balance of whatever aid you did not receive from the college. That's why this is more of a floor than a ceiling. So a low EFC is good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the figure that you're going to be paying. A lower EFC means you're eligible for more financial aid, but not necessarily that you're going to receive all the financial aid that you are eligible for. That finally is up to the college to grant you or not. So to that end, there's another really great tool called a net price calculator, and it's a requirement that every college has a net price calculator on their website. This takes it a step further, and not only do you find what your expected family contribution is and thus what you're eligible to receive, but really what you can expect to receive or some estimate that you should receive in financial aid from that college. So if you go to the Boston College website and do their net price calculator, it works very similarly to an EFC calculator in that it only takes a few minutes to file. They're going to ask you the same type of information, income, assets, things like that. Should only take a few minutes, and then they're going to arrive at an estimate of what amount of financial aid you are likely to receive from the college this year, and thus what your remaining cost is. So it's a really good tool to use as an estimate. It is only an estimate, and it's only as accurate, of course, as the numbers that you put in. So you want to be as accurate as possible. Having said that, every financial aid website does it a little bit differently. Not every net price calculator is the same. Some are more exact than others. Some take MERIT into account if they do MERIT, so they might ask you students' grades and things like that. Some won't. As you can see here, it's estimating basically the entire cost of attendance, and this is, I think, Framingham State University, so they list tuition and fees at $9,397, housing and meals $11,300, books and supplies, transportation and other personal expenses. They all add up to $23,254 per year. $900 a year on grants and scholarship. Net costs $22,354. And then there's a work study award there of $2,175. And then you see your federal direct loans at the bottom totaling $5,500. So this is just an example of one net price calculator that you may find. And again, they're all a little bit different, but the aim is to show you what your financial aid package might look like before you file, just with some basic information. So just to give you an idea, I think it's a good tool. There's also something called a college scorecard. And this is meant to be a repository really for a lot of information that's going to be helpful to you when you're searching for colleges and which colleges you want to apply to and possibly attend. It's supposed to empower the family to make a good decision as a consumer as to what the best investment for you is going to be. This information here looks at 4 colleges in the Worcester area. There's College of the Holy Cross, Worcester Polytech, Clark University, and Assumption College. So there's different costs associated. You see the average annual cost of students. So this is sort of not the sticker price, but what the average family ends up paying. And that black line denotes the average, the median. So you can see College of the Holy Cross. I know the sticker price for College of the Holy Cross is over $60,000 a year. So it might be a situation where somebody wants to go to Holy Cross and they think, I can't afford it at $60,000 a year, but the average family actually ends up paying about half of that. And that might be a good investment because you can see they graduate 92% of their students, and they make well over the national median for salary after attending the school. Worcester Polytech, again, $37,000. Clark, $24,000, and Assumption College, $27,000 for average annual costs, and I know that these are about half of their sticker prices. You can see they all have high graduation rates and above median numbers for salary after attending. But it's up to you to determine if you think if you're going to have to borrow, if you're looking at a target to save for. I think this can be really helpful. All of these tools taken together, you can get a feel if you use your EFC calculator, use net price calculators to look at specific colleges and college scorecard to get a feel for what the salary might be afterwards. You can get a feel for, number one, how much you may have to target when you're looking at savings. And then if you can't save that entire amount, you multiply these numbers by 4, what you're going to have to borrow. And then looking at the salary after attending, you can see, is that a good investment for when they're going to have to be paying back? It's a lot of work, but it's something that you can actually take a look at. So how do families pay for college? After they do financial aid, There's really only 3 ways that you can use to pay for college, and that's using past income, meaning anything you've saved or other assets you may have, present income, meaning your payment plans, monthly payment plans, which are interest-free payments that you can make on a monthly basis. Most colleges have these, and they work through an outside provider where you pay whatever you can pay every month, and that goes directly against tuition. So if you can afford to pay $400 a month, for example, and you do that over 10 months, then you're going to pay down your bill by $4,000 over the course of a year. May not seem like much, but that's $4,000 that you don't have to borrow and $4,000 that you're not paying interest on after the student graduates or while the student's in college. But because the only thing that's left after past income and present income is future income, and that can take the form of student loans or parent loans. So remember when I said before that the federal direct student loans, which are the only loans that are considered as financial aid, those are really the only loans that students can take in their own name. You know, we talk a lot about student loans, and what we really mean is educational loans. There's really only one student loan program, and that is the federal direct student loan program. And remember we talked, they do have loan limits, for $5,500 is the loan limit for freshman year, $6,500 for sophomore year, $7,500 for junior year. Oftentimes, their families need to borrow above those. They might need to borrow a parent loan or a federal parent, private loan or a federal parent loan to pay some or all of the remaining balance. So any loan other than the federal student loan needs to be based on credit approval, and most students just don't have the capability to be approved on their own, so they oftentimes need a parent to be the co-signer for those loans. So, you know, this is going to be important to you, how much the monthly payment on these parent loans are, so it's better to pay what you can at the time and lessen the amount that you have to borrow. So in terms of saving versus borrowing, if you're targeting a $10,000 cost, if you borrowed a $10,000 loan based on a 10-year repayment at an interest rate of about 7%, which is a good assumption for where interest rates are at and have been at for a while for educational loans. So if you borrowed $10,000 and you took 10 years to pay that back at an interest rate of 7%, it's going to cost you an extra $3,920 in interest. So when you're paying that back, your total cost is going to be $13,920. If you're targeting a $10,000 amount to save, you know, you'd only have to save $6,960 to earn the same interest at the same interest rate over 10 years to come up to $10,000. So it's not just what you're saving if you are saving, but it's how you're saving it and the interest that's gaining on that can help you reach your goals. The principle here being, of course, and it's not really that complicated, that it's better to save and earn interest than it is to borrow and pay interest. In this case, it costs almost twice as much to borrow than it does to save. So really, this to me is the big slide in the entire thing. Myths we've heard about saving for college that really prevent people from saving for college when they should not. So the first one is that saving for college means no financial aid, and that's not true. So the truth is that when you're filing your financial aid forms, again, your finances, remember there's 2 ways to award financial aid. One is need-based and one is merit-based. Merit has nothing to do with, you know, income or assets or anything like that. So saving has nothing to do with merit-based aid. So need-based aid, when they're looking at parents' income, parents' assets, you know, student income, student assets, and all those things, when you're filing your financial aid forms, the biggest factor in determining your financial aid eligibility is income and not savings. So, you know, they'll take a look at the totality of parental assets and take anywhere in the federal form, at least, from 3 to 5.6% of the total amount and that's what they'll increase your estimated family contribution by. So if you have $10,000 in assets they're looking at, the most that's going to affect you is it's going to increase your increase your expected family contribution by $560. So I think, if you thought about it, you'd probably rather have the $10,000 and be expected to use $560 of it than to not have it and have your overall cost lowered by that $560. So just to tell you that the main driver of financial aid eligibility is income and not assets. The second one is it's not worth saving for college if I can't save the entire cost. That is certainly not true because, again, there's financial aid that's available, and even if you can't save the entire cost of what's remaining after financial aid, everything that you have saved for college is something that you don't have to pay out of pocket or something that you, more importantly, don't have to borrow. We manage the MEFA U-Plan prepaid tuition program in-house here at MEFA, and I've spoken to many savers over the past 15 years or so. And I can tell you honestly that I have never had anybody say that they wish they had saved less or not saved at all. The biggest thing that people say is, this helps, I wish I did more of it. So it's definitely worth saving whatever you can for future college costs. And again, it'll help you reduce or eliminate the need to borrow loans. So that's really the big thing for me that I think of. Allows the student to work less and study more. And as we've said, it has a minimal impact on financial aid. It can allow you to sort of increase your options in terms of what colleges you can go to, or if you can do special programs like study abroad, and it can help to motivate your child. There's any number of studies that have been done that show that savings do motivate children, and that I'm thinking about one study in particular that showed that, and it was from the University of Kansas, showed that children who know that money is being put aside for them are 7 times as likely to graduate from college. I believe it's 3 times as likely to attend and 4 times as likely to graduate. And that is regardless of the amount that is set aside. And so it's just that knowing that there's money set aside for him or her has a motivating impact on them. So some financial aid examples, just to give you an idea. Case study number 1, we have Kyle here. Kyle wants to attend a 4-year public school to study business. The full annual cost of the school is $22,500. So about where things are, mid-20s for a cost for a 4-year public school to study business. So his financial aid award, grants and scholarships, $13,000. Federal work study, so he can take a job and earn $2,000 over the course of the year. And his federal loan, of course, at $5,500. So he didn't get everything taken care of, but he got a good financial aid award package. He's only left with $2,000 that he has to pay, or his family has to pay, for each year of college. If they have savings, they can use that. If not, they can pay out of pocket, use an interest-free monthly payment plan to come up with $2,000. That would be, $200 a month over 10 months. We'll contrast that with Lisa, who wants to attend a 4-year private school for nursing. A full annual cost of the school is $60,000 a year. So this is one of these big private schools, probably in the New England area, that we're looking at here. The expected family contribution for her parents was $47,199. So they don't have a lot of financial aid eligibility there. So you see, she has a merit scholarship for $20,000. She has a nursing award for $2,000 and a federal loan for $5,500. So $27,500 financial aid package. It's almost half. It's not terrible. but it still leaves the family to pay $32,500 out of pocket each year. So hopefully they have some savings that they can use to pay towards that. And hopefully they have some money out of pocket that they can pay for that every year, because I can tell you that borrowing $32,500 their freshman year, just in a private loan, off the top of my head, that's going to be about a $300 a month monthly payment for the first year. So if you multiply that by 4, that's going to be about a $1,200 monthly payment after graduation. And those payments go on for about 10 years. So even if you can't afford to save $32,500 times 4, if you have some savings that you can use to eat into that cost, you can significantly reduce the amount that you have to borrow, which will significantly reduce your monthly payments and the amount that you pay in interest for the next many years after school. So it definitely is worth it. Some benefits of beginning to save as early as possible. Again, it's not really a complicated point to make, but if you start saving earlier, it's better. So using time to your advantage, just like they say to do for your retirement. This purple color graph in the graph here represents someone who started saving in kindergarten. The blue represents someone starting in 3rd grade. The red represents somebody starting in 6th grade, and the green is somebody saving in 9th grade. And now we have $50 a month, $100 a month, and $300 per month. So as you can see here, starting at $50 a month in kindergarten, you get a good amount. $12,667. $100 amount per month goes to $25,333, and $300 a month per month about triples that again, so $75,999. But even look at the lesser amounts, or if you're starting a little bit later, starting in the 6th grade, $10,100 a month. It makes a difference. Even starting in the 9th grade, if you start putting away $100 a month, that's $5,521. That's a good amount. And then you can pay that $100 a month in a monthly payment plan, cut off another $1,000. I would always say it's never too late to start, but it's always good to start as early as possible. So if you have a free minute and you have a younger child and you want to get something done, the hardest part is just starting. I think there might be a bit of a psychological reason there. People don't want to really begin to think about paying for college just yet, and I really, believe me, understand that. But if you take it a little bit at a time over the years, it's going to make it a lot easier when you actually get to that point. And to that end, we have strategies for saving. So one of the best things I think you can do is start with a goal in mind, and we have new tools that we'll talk about in just a minute that can help you. That's another thing I think paralyzes a lot of people. They don't know how much to start saving. They don't know how much they should put away every month, and they don't know how much they should target. Take advantage of unexpected funds. So if you have some money that you were expecting to spend on something else and you don't need to, put that right into college savings. If you get a tax return, put that into college, some of it into college savings. Using automatic transfers is a really big one for me. I'll be honest, I was saving for about 6 or 7 months for my son before I even knew I was saving, because my wife had set up the automatic transfers, and it was a very low amount, frankly. But we were doing that. And then my favorite, get the word out and let your family and friends know that they can contribute or open a plan on behalf of your child. It's very easy to do, particularly with the 529 plan. You can set up a gifting page for your child and just have relatives go check out the page. You can put a picture of the child on there. They see age 2 years old, entering college, and must be old, 2024. But they can go in and just sort of gift money right into that. So it's really great, especially if there's birthdays or whatever it might be, or first communion or christening or bar mitzvahs or whatever it is. Just say, we really like it if you did this, and then involve your child in the process. I know that we have a lot of parents of kids who are younger, but old enough to appreciate money, and they always like seeing their balance in their savings account. And I talked to a colleague here who said, "Oh yeah, her son loves to go and see his balance go up and up and up," which hopefully it continues to do, paying for college. And then also, they can save some of their own money if they want to. And I know that sounds a little optimistic, but I remember speaking with somebody who works at college, and she said that if her daughter got any money for anything as a present, she would always make her pay half of it to herself and save half of it right away. So I know that can be done. And not only did that help when it comes to paying for college, but it became a habit that she used for the rest of her life. So that it's a great habit to have, of sort of saving something for yourself immediately rather than spending all your money on something. So that's a great tool to use. We have a new college planning tool on our website, which is really, really great. And what it is basically, it's to help you estimate just the answer to that question that a lot of people have, which is, how much do I need to save? Number one, there's a lot of different parts to this. So we know what the sticker price is, and we know that it can be really big, and we know that people say, well, I can't save for that, so forget it. Well, basically what this does is say, this is assuming you're saving right now, or basically this is what you would need to put away every month in order to come up to your goal. So there's a screenshot details here. We see you put in your you create an account for your family, you list the student, you list any income that you're making currently, any college savings that you're putting away or want to put away, and it will estimate not only if you have saved this amount every month, what that would be, but you can choose different types of colleges. I did a 4-year New England private for mine, and you can change it at any time. But it'll estimate how much the sticker price is likely to be for that, based on your income, family size, and assets, what your financial aid might be, and it'll give you the balance, and then how much you're on target to save, and then what your shortfall is. So costs over here on the left, $59,995. Gift aid likely to receive from the college, $7,073, leaving you with about $52,000 left. But by the time you get to college, you're projected to have saved about $32,000, $32,002 exactly. And then your shortfall then is $20,920. So based on that, you can either look at different colleges, you can try to increase your savings, or you can start, if 20,000 seems okay to you, then you start researching ways to pay that. So it's a really, really exciting tool to use, and I recommend that you do take a look at it. It's on our savings page, and you can go in and change information on it whenever you like. But as it says here, it really does allow you to create a personal strategy to save and to pay for your child's educational costs. So in terms of how you can actually save, there are two specific programs. The U-Fund 529 investing plan. So if you're familiar with a 529 plan, you may know that it is a designated account to pay for college, much like a 401k is designated to pay for retirement. You put your money in. The minimum to start an account is either $50 or a $15 monthly withdrawal every month. That is invested in the market by Fidelity. It grows tax deferred, so there's no taxes on that as it grows. And as long as you pay, when you take it out, a qualified educational expense, which are tuition, fees, room and board, books and supplies, and equipment, at any accredited college or university in the country, or even some foreign institutions, you don't pay taxes on that. So there are multiple investment options, including FDIC insured, that will safeguard your principal. if you are interested, you should call Fidelity at 800-544-2776, or that's their website, fidelity.com/ufund. I can tell you from personal experience that I have 2 of these, and the first time I did one, I called up on a Saturday morning. It took me about 15 minutes to set up a ufund account. So it can be very, very easy. And like I said, if you have a few minutes and it's on your mind and you're a little bit worried about it, it's something that you can do very quickly and very easily. And as I said before, I think I'll be very frank that I was and still am paying a very, very low amount into it every month. But I think since I do the work I do and I know how important it is, that I do think it is very important to keep doing that. So a couple of other things: the parent or the adult account owner maintains control over the account. So it's not an account whereby the student, after turning 18 or 21, becomes the owner of the account. You, as the parent, control the account and you're the owner. The U-Plan prepaid tuition program is a different type of program. It allows you to prepay up to 100% of tuition and mandatory fees at over 70 Massachusetts public and private colleges and universities. So the way this works is there's an open enrollment period every year. You put in a certain amount of money, $300 is the minimum, and you select a maturity year or maturity years. That is one or more of the years that the student is going to be in college. And depending on how much you put in this year, that's going to buy a percentage of tuition, of this year's tuition, at each participating college or university. So the example I always use is if you put in $1,000 and you say, I want this to go to my daughter's freshman year in college, then if at a college that costs $10,000 this year, you've just purchased 10% of tuition. If she goes to that college in 15 years' time and now college is now $20,000, well, you have 10% of $20,000, which is $2,000. So your $1,000 investment became $2,000 because your investment kept pace with the rate at which tuition increased. So $10,000 10% of $20,000 is what you purchased then. So these are not invested in the market. They're placed in general obligation bonds. They're backed by the full faith and credit of the Commonwealth. And the annual enrollment period is May 1st through June 30th. So it's not currently open, but if you want more information on it, you can sign up and we will send you an enrollment kit when it becomes available. This is just a listing of all the participating colleges and universities in Massachusetts. Now, the obvious question that people have with this is, well, what happens if my child doesn't go to one of these colleges? If that's the case, you can transfer this over to another student if they may go to a participating college or university. And you can always transfer the U fund as well. You can also do that. But if nobody in the family is going to be going to one of these participating colleges for the U plan, you can cash out and get what you put in plus the interest. I should also mention that there are tax benefits, Massachusetts state tax benefits for contributing to these plans. So there's a tax deduction that you can claim through 2021 for married filers up to $2,000 of contributions you can deduct, and for individual filers up to $1,000. And the limits are per filer, not per account. So if you have 3 accounts and you're contributing, you can't claim 3 $2,000 deductions. It's just that's the limit per filer is $2,000. Checking to see if there are any questions so far. Okay, nothing yet. So, what to do now? You can start. Saving is the best thing you can do if you're not saving already. And I'll be not very honest. We have discussions a lot because a lot of us have kids here and that we're saving for, and we have a lot of the same questions and anxieties really that anybody does, and they're paying for college. And I was talking to my colleague and actually my supervisor, and I said, trying to get a feel for what the best way to save and all this stuff. She said, honestly, the best thing I ever did was to start saving. And she said, I wasn't even an early saver. I was a late saver, and it just made everything so much easier, even though it wasn't the full amount. So the best thing that you can do is to start saving. If you are saving, continue to save. Talk to your child about college. Try to start fostering not only their interest, or sort of developing their interest in what they might be interested in and where they might go to study that. And then also, start talking to them about different types of schools. A lot of people get hung up on particular schools or not going to a particular school or type of school. Really, it's all about what you get out of your education, and I think it's important to start talking about that early as well. You can use online tools to learn more about college costs, so you can use your expected family contribution calculator. You can go to various websites of different types of colleges and look at net price calculators. Please go to MEFA.org and use some of the college cost forecasters or savings planners that we have, that we highlighted in this presentation. I think they're really useful to get a good sense of where you stand in terms of where you're going to be paying for college and what you're going to be paying and what you can do about that. Or you can sign up for MEFA's email community at MEFA.org. Again, if you have signed up for this webinar, you'll be getting a copy of it emailed to you. If you have any questions, I'm here right now. We're here all the time in whatever way is convenient for you to reach out to us. Please do that. So you see our address here. You see our email address, collegeplanning@mefa.org. It's our phone number, and there's our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube channel there. So please connect with us in any way that you feel is convenient for you. I'll hang out here for a little while if there are questions. Oh, there was a question here. Somebody said, is the U Fund a one-time investment, or can you put money into the account per open enrollment? Oh, okay. So that's a good question. So the U Fund is open all the time. So you can put money into the U Fund all year round. The U Plan, you can only put investments in during the open enrollment period, as it stands right now. So during that May 1st through June 30th period, you could put in your enrollment, or you can put in, you can put money in more than once during the open enrollment period, but that's really the only time that you can put money into the U Plan as it stands right now. U Fund is open all the time, so you can start that whenever. Let's see if I missed any other questions or not. Oh, that's about it. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.